welcome on out to another edition of the Living Deadwax podcast here on the Living Deadwax YouTube channel. We talk about music here. Thanks for clicking on this video and joining us on a glorious Wednesday evening in Phoenix. It's like a balmy 107 out, so we have cooled down a little bit. A little bit of monsoon activity.
Cool down. Make sure you pack your jackets. You don't know what the day's gonna hold.
It's cold out there. It's cold out there every day. What do you think this is? Miami Beach. Anyways, guys, we got a good one tonight. Should be a fun one. Doing another ranking. I chose tonight's topic, and we are doing 9 Inch Nails ranking a good amount of the catalog, not the entire catalog.
No.
We are doing the 8, I would say, the most essential releases, I would say.
I would tend to agree with that. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the resident super fan here, so I called the parameters. I called the shots here. And so, we're doing the core. There's so many EPs and everything else that's come out over the years. We're not doing the EPs. We're also not calling the 3 EPs, the most recent EPs, a record. We're not doing that. It's garbage. Anyone that fucking does that is lying to you. Don't allow them to do that. We're not doing it. We're going from Pretty Hate Machine through Hesitation Marks with no EPs and also no ghosts because we're not ranking ambient noise.
Yeah.
So, okay, there you go.
Yeah. I was looking at that and I'm like, God damn, this thing's like 36 tracks. Like, dear Lord.
Yeah, no.
That's a lot. That's a lot of listening.
It's a lot of listening. Yeah, it's a 4 LP set too.
So, yeah, it's crazy. We got a special guest tonight. I made some calls. I tried to get Trent. Wanted him to rank his own albums.
Was busy.
And, he just was busy and he didn't want to do that, which I respect. You don't want to rank your children. I understand that. But we got the next best thing. We got Josh instead.
Damn.
So
Josh,
welcome back to the channel, to the podcast. You're here for another ranking. The summer of Josh continues, rolls on. This is it though. Basically, we'll see you next year after this. So,
I still believe we can steal Josh once a month for a ranking. I think we can still do that, but I'm not.
We can make it work.
The shots here.
Well,
we
can make it work.
We'll see. We'll see.
They're just kids. They bounce back. Kids are resilient like that, Josh. Like, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
It is very true. It is very true, actually. So tonight should be fun. Like I said, we are doing 9 Inch Nails. So I'm just going to get right into it here. This is a lot of first time listening for me, the majority of it. I think this is the most blind ranking we've done so far for myself. I think the only things I had listened to all the way through were Pretty Hate Machine and Downward Spiral. And it had been a very long time since I had listened to those. So a lot of this was first time stuff, which is fun. I like the homework aspect of stuff. I like reviewing things. I like writing down my thoughts, stuff like that. So Josh, how did you feel about the ranking going in? Was it a lot of first time listening for you? How were you introduced to 9 Inch Nails? Kind of give us your overview here.
I had a lot of fun with the ranking. Maybe the last couple albums I had to revisit to refresh my mind. Basically got into 9 Inch Nails through just like my other bands, like old friends through my childhood and the school and stuff.
Yeah. Do you because obviously that's such a visual band Trent. I keep saying band, but visual medium with those videos. Was that a big deal?
Yeah, definitely. I remember like junior high and high school, there's like so many 9 Inch Nails t-shirts. I just remember like the videos and the kids going to the concerts with their older brothers and me being jealous about it.
Hell yeah.
Because
you were the older brother. You didn't have. I mean, right. Wait, were the uncles or anything into 9 Inch Nails or no?
Not that I remember, but they could have been.
Tyler, how about yourself?
All right, so I'm in the driver's seat here for this one. I really enjoy it.
Essentially, yeah.
So I like this. All right, so 9 Inch Nails. I remember seeing when I was a little kid, seeing glimpses of like the Closer video on MTV. And then there was a lot of the edits on there, like, you know, has like the thing that pops up like a video edit or whatever it is, MTV edit, whatever. So it was really like edgy and pushing the limits there, because there was a lot of, you know, banned imagery or what have you in the video. So like
Mm-hmm.
intrigued me even as like a little kid. And then so I liked that, even though I didn't really know what I saw. I just remember the video, but I don't know anything but the band or the song really or anything, right? And then it wasn't until I really want to say like 2000 and yeah, 2000 maybe. So like coming off of Fragile, MTV was doing their 20th anniversary specials. And there was I've tried to find it on the Internet Archive, on YouTube, and everything else because I have so much memory tied up into this one special. It was the top 20 records, I believe it was, of the MTV era. And so they ranked the top 20 records, right? So I wrote down in a notebook what the ranking was, and I said, I need to get these CDs, or I need to listen to these, or whatever, right? And so, like, for example, like Appetite was, well, I think Appetite might have been number one, actually. TLC, Crazy Sexy Cool, Blood Sugar was on there. Um, Foo Fighters Color and the Shape was on there. I think the first NWA record was on there. You know, whatever. But one of the things on there was Pretty Hate Machine, and it was Matt Pinfield went pretty deep on it, and that combined with later because I think a year later, maybe let's say a year or two later, uh, the greatest artist of hard rock came on or came on VH1, and then I remember because I've watched that numerous times. I remember they ranked it like I don't know 58 or something, whatever it was, and they on their slash said that at the end of the day, I think along the lines of at the end of the day, no one is more relevant or no one's more powerful. No one does it better than what they do. And that was like really intriguing to me. And I was like, oh shit. So like I was already kind of in because I started like just like listening here and there. And I actually realized something about a week or two ago. I realized that the first ever video, ever video at all that I ever saw on the internet was had like a whole video on the Nine Inch Nails website because the QuickTime video loaded up very quickly. So I was on dial-up AOL connection here, but on NineInchNails.com or NineInchNailsMedia.com or whatever it was, they had the videos on there, and that video popped up real quickly and real nicely. So I listened to that constantly, and then later went on and bought the live record or live CD with my dad because I wanted to get into them, and my dad and that just came out in 2002. And I really wanted something. They didn't have greatest hits, so my dad said to get the live record because that's basically greatest hits. That was a good idea, I guess. And it was because I love that live release. Like if we would have ranked with that live release included on here, that would be number one for me because that's all day. I've listened to that thing so many goddamn times. But yeah, so then kind of snowballed from there, and they've been one of my favorite bands for the last 20 plus years, a little bit over. So yeah, just crazy. Love Nine Inch Nails. Love Trent Reznor. I love everything that he does. All his soundtrack work is super crazy and cool. And just see the way that he's evolved over time and how he's now as respected as he is within a lot of different industries. It just makes me super stoked and super proud, and will never stop singing that guy's praises for his musical accomplishments.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar there. I mean, I was exposed to it mostly through Josh. I remember Josh did have that live album because I re-listened to that too through the last couple days too. After listening to the album tracks, I wanted to kind of relive that because Josh, I remember you playing that quite a bit. That's a good live album. That's his only official like live record. That's
yeah,
the
more or
only
less
thing that shows up on streaming.
Yeah, more or less. So like they have the Closure VHS DVD that came out. That was from '94. So that was out there. That's not up for. It was never like released for like a CD though or whatever, right? Never audio. And they have a bunch of other stuff that have gotten shot over the years for like specials and stuff. But in terms of audio released CDs, that is the only one.
Wow. Okay.
Oh wait, lied to you. Or did I? So they also had Beside You in Time come out in 2007, and that's a early
Okay.
Blu-ray, live Blu-ray release, and
Oh.
I don't think they ever put the audio for that out. So maybe that does fall. So maybe I
Oh.
could be lying to you, but I've never
Gotcha.
seen the
Yeah,
CD.
because the
But that's what I got.
yeah, because the only thing that shows up on streaming and wiki is the 2002
Yeah,
live and all that could have been.
yeah,
That's the only one that shows up. So I was assuming that was the only one, but
yeah, yeah. More or less.
interesting. So yeah, pretty much the same thing. Those videos, those videos are just iconic. Obviously, the closer videos is such a giant statement like that, and like Black Hole Sun, which we did the Soundgarden ranking and talked about that. Like those two videos, kind of hand in hand for me, are some of the earliest video memories of kind of contemporary artists of the time that wasn't like stuff from the 80s and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So obviously that kind of stuck with me for a while. I just never really took the plunge. I don't know why. It just never happened. I've always respected Trent. I've always enjoyed what I've heard. I know the singles. I've always liked the singles and always loved the videos and know a lot just through proxy from hanging out with Tyler about stuff and knowing what he puts into his live shows and shit like that. Have always gained that, have had that respect, and I just never, I don't know. I never took the plunge. I don't really know why, because I like industrial. I tend to lean toward more the heavier stuff like Fear Factory, White Zombie, I guess Manson, a little bit of Ministry, stuff like that. Um, I also really like synth stuff, like retro synth wave. So you kind of combine all of that. You'd think I would have did the dive quicker, but at least it happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna go chronological order here. I think what we're gonna do is let's go Tyler, then Josh, and then I'll go last. And yeah, so just a little overview here. Tyler, of course, can add to this as well. Uh, you know, Nine Inch Nails put together by Trent in '88 in Cleveland, and then first album that dropped was Pretty Hate Machine in '89. So not a long like layover kind of toy. I'm sure he did ship before Nine Inch Nails, but not a long layover before calling the thing that and then dropping an album. And so yeah, let's just get right into it. Tyler, if you want to give a little backstory more about the record, if you got anything, and also your thoughts and ranking.
Yeah, so Trent bounced around the local Cleveland scene, playing with various bands. The Exotic Birds, I believe, is one of the bands he played with. And there's like two or three different videos because all of those bands that he played in, they also like got on to a closed circuit TV and like local
Nice.
channels and stuff. And so you can find like two, three, four videos of them playing the local news or something. And I want to say the last Exotic Birds video, it's right before he was doing Nine Inch Nails. So like he looks
Nice.
like Trent Reznor, and they're all looking super new wavy and super new romantic or whatever, right? And then you have Trent in like his black hair, but like he looks like Trent Reznor. He has like a jacket on or whatever, and he's just in the back and he looks and he's just doing the keys, whatever, looking like Trent Reznor, and he does some vocal. There's also one they did a Cars cover actually. I forget what they did, but they covered
Oh, wow.
oh, I forget. They did a Cars cover though. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I forget what song
Okay.
it is now. But yeah, so anyway, so Trent always wanted to do his own thing because he hated being in those bands and he wanted to do his own thing because he didn't like the constraints of like having to work things through with somebody else, right? And he didn't believe like a lot of their directions were where he wanted to go. And so he got a job at a studio and he basically traded studio time late in the night for being a janitor. So he cleaned toilets, he cleaned the studio, he swept floors, like he mopped, he did everything he possibly could at the studio, just so he could, in the middle of the night when no one's there, go into the studio and just start tinkering and start recording shit. So that's where Pretty Hate Machine was conceived and was written and recorded. And Chris Vrenna, the drummer. That's the first drummer for Nine Inch Nails for quite a while. That was Trent's roommate. And so Trent would come home with tapes every night from the studio and talk to Chris and be like, "Hey, Chris, is this cool or is this dumb? Like, what you got to let me know." And so he basically would bounce ideas off Chris, and Chris would be like, "I like that a lot. I don't like that, whatever." And so at the end of the day, eventually, had Pretty Hate Machine signed to TVT Records, who were mostly a soundtrack label. They did a lot of the shitty 80 movie soundtracks. And so they signed Nine Inch Nails, though, and Trent gave them the record, and they said it was an abortion. And so they had no production, no promotion behind it. Trent told a story on one of the it's a really cool documentary called I forget what it's called, but it's Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine, and he's in there talking about it, and he talks about going overseas to like a big producer like studio or whatever, and went over to England, and he got there, and the guy started fucking around with everything, and Trent like had to stop and be like, "Hey, listen, this is it. I'm not doing anything else after this. Like, you have a million more records you're gonna mix or you're gonna record or produce or whatever, right? This is me. This is it for me. So I can't just let you do this." And so that was a butting of the heads, and and then they came back to the States, and the label said, "Why the fuck did you do that? Like, you just ruined all your future and whatever." Anyway, they put it out, and it sold big on the independent scene. It got over. They went on tour with Jesus and Mary Chain, and they got in front of the right audience, and it really worked to their advantage. And I think this has sold like 5 million copies. I want to say something.
Yeah, it's 3 times platinum in the States.
Okay.
But I don't know when the last time it was certified. So
yeah, so sold a bunch, and So anyway, for me, because that's a big long-winded thing, so I'm going to rank it. So let me pull my official rankings up here. I did go back and listen to obviously most of the discography here. And it was really hard because I love all of these records. I love them all. Like, I don't dislike anything they released. Besides some EPs, I don't give a shit. But the core records, it sucks to rank them. So when I was doing this, every song damn near is a classic. And there's some stupid writing in them. Like, Kinda I Want To is a dumb song. Like the music itself, I like it a lot. But the lyrics are all just stupid. Kinda I Want To, and or no, excuse me. Kinda I Want To. That's What I Get. That's What I Get, and the only time's better than That's What I Get. But just dumb lyrics. It's a lot of like, it's just dumb, immature. Like, you broke up with me. Like, I thought I was the guy when you taught me how to kiss. Like, it's just dumb Depeche Mode kind of like, era shit. So he was still, finding his voice, I guess, right? And not that those kind of themes were not touched on later with other records, but the way that he wrote them was just very, very, juvenile, right? Because he's 21 years old, whatever, right?
Sure.
And it's his first time ever recording anything. So anyway, with all that factored in, when I did my final rankings here, again, classics, Had Like a Hole, Terrible Lie, Down on It, Sanctified, Something I Can Never Have. Whole side A, just ridiculous. Side B, it's a little bit different. But anyway, number 4. Where I ranked Pretty Hate Machine, Nine Inch Nails.
Right in the middle. Right in the middle.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, we're doing 8 albums tonight, 7 full lengths and 1 EP for everybody. I don't think we said that. So no worries. So Josh, kind of give your overview with the record and then where you put it. And some standouts for it.
I agree with Tyler about some of the lyrics. They're just dumb, but it's a really really, really good debut album. Like, the whole album flows for me. There's not a lot of dull moments. I mean, it starts off with Head Like a Hole, Terrible Lie, Sin. There's so many good songs in here. Sanctified. Freaking, I honestly just love it. Something I Never Have is another good one. I'd say Sin and Terrible Lie are 2 of my favorites, and I put it. I had to put it at number 1.
Wow.
All right.
Blowing that load early. What's crazy is I think that Head Like a Hole is one of Trent's best written, to this day, one of his best lyrical songs he's ever written. That's the first song on the record. And then by the end of the record, just starts getting dumb. So just the dichotomy there, the two sides is pretty striking. But yeah.
I've listened to it like 4 times recently. I think it's a fun record. I really enjoy it.
Oh yeah. Very fun.
Yeah, it's been a long time to hear. Obviously, I knew the songs, had like a Whole Terrible Lie down in it, Sin. Like I know those songs pretty well. So I had to give this a thorough re-listen. I think I listened to it 2 or 3 times in the last 3 or 4 days. That's a lot of this stuff. I listened to it, a lot of it multiple times, and in certain songs multiple times too. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like it's a lot of different influences. You could tell he's pulling from alternative, hard rock, obviously new wave. There's even some hip hop in there. Like there's kind of hip hop beats,
tape loops.
Yeah. I kind of think it's a pretty top heavy album. Like the first side's really great. Like had like a whole into Terrible Lie. Like that's a great transition. How they just goes right into Terrible Lie. Love that. Obviously Down in It's great. Sanctified's a really cool song. The second side, like Sin's really the only thing that really stands out to me. A lot of it gets a bit samey by the end. I really like the production. It's got a nice 80s sheen on it. I know a lot of people don't like that stuff. I like it. I dig it. It fits the music to me.
For sure.
I think a lot of the great tunes, they still hold up. Like Tyler said, it had like a whole, like it's one of his best written songs. Like it truly is. After going through the majority of the catalog the last few days, I 100% agree with you there. Like Tyler said, sold like gangbusters. They didn't really promote it, but it ended up working out for him. And yeah, 3 times platinum. It's one of the first independent albums ever to go 3 times platinum. I put it at my number 2.
Ooh, all right. Nice.
So I put it at my number 2. I really enjoyed re-listening to it. Also came out October 20th, 1989. So 1 year before my wife's birthday. So there you go.
Nice. All
right.
Yeah. 1 year.
You can always know that.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So yeah, Pretty Hate Machine came out 89. And then the next thing we're going to discuss is Broken, which came out almost 3 years later, September 22nd, 1992. So Tyler, if you want to kind of do the same thing, if you want to add in any backstory or what you have, go for it.
Got so much. Okay, because I love the early Nine Inch Nails days, especially. I love everything, but the early days just my jam. So they were on TBT Records. The guy, forget his name, I used to have it, Steve something or other, called it an abortion, and so that immediately just turned Trent off and was like, well, this is the worst thing ever. My label guy, who knows more than I do, clearly, he just said it's an abortion, so my whole career's over, my life's over, right? And so then they go on tour. They keep picking up steam, and they got their own audience. They cultivated a loyal cult-like audience, and they sold some records. So then they get on Jimmy Iovine's radar, because Interscope Records had been founded, I think a year before or so, 2 years before. And so at Interscope, Jimmy was obsessed with Nine Inch Nails, and Jimmy wanted to sign them. Issue was that they were on TBT. So Jimmy spent for a year and a half maybe, but a year and a half, he spent every day calling the head of TBT, the owner, and asking about Nine Inch Nails. And
Steve Gottlieb.
Tried to, there you go, Steve Gottlieb, there you go. So Jimmy Iovine would call Steve Gottlieb every day. And it's to the point where in the documentary, they talk about it, when they talk about Jimmy Iovine's founding of Interscope, the Defiant Ones is the name of the documentary. So in the Defiant Ones, Jimmy talks about it, and his wife talks about it too, that he would spend hours upon hours in the bathroom on the phone trying to talk to Steve about getting Nine Inch Nails on Interscope. And Steve just said, no, I'm not doing that. Like, we're not giving up. So then after a year and a half, though, and the persistence of Jimmy Iovine, Steve gave in and said, okay, and then they were going to be partners within the Nine Inch Nails business, right? So Nine Inch Nails got brought onto Interscope, and I think Steve got a payoff for the next couple records or whatever it was. I forget. So when Nine Inch Nails came over to Interscope, obviously they were very, very skeptical of the label situation. And so when Jimmy Iovine talked to Trent, Trent was like, Jimmy asked Trent, "What do you need? Like, what do you want?" And Trent said, "I want my own label so I can sign bands that I like, and I want you to leave me alone and just never talk to me. And I'll give you a record, and then we're good." And Jimmy's like, "Done. Let's do it." So they got Nothing Records out of it, which is Trent's label, or was. And then they immediately, after he agreed to all that stuff, Trent hands him Broken and says, "Here's Broken. This is done. Put it out. It's an EP. Put it out, and leave me alone while I go write my second record." So that's what they did. So Broken came out, and they didn't tour behind Broken officially, but Broken was a fucking hit. Broken is a banger. 6 tracks of perfection. It doesn't stop. It is nonstop, balls to the wall the entire time. And so for my money, for me, and it has some of the Nine Inch Nails' biggest songs ever. So Wish, one of Nine Inch Nails' biggest songs, most identifiable. Gave Up was a big song. They made videos for these songs. They made videos for the whole thing. They actually made a movie for it too, which is a whole different thing, which is a whole nother conversation because it's a banned movie because there's a lot of bad things in there. But it's an Experience, Pinion, into Wish, into Last, and then Help Me I'm in Hell, Happiness and Slavery, then Gave Up, closers. So, and there's also I think Physical, or not Physical.
Physical.
Physical
is
Physical
the cover, and
You're right.
Suck.
There you go, Adamant. Yeah, there you go. Yes. So there was on a 7-inch, a separate 7-inch that came with the record. They put it out too, and also the CD came with a mini CD, which is insane.
Yeah.
So anyway, for my money, when I did my ranking, and I gave you that big long-winded history of this, I put Broken at number 2. So favorites off of this, obviously Wish, can't do anything on the Wish. Last, I love Last. And then I love the transition from, because Help Me I'm in Hell transitions into Happiness and Slavery perfectly. I love that Trent started to find his knack for atmospheric transitions, and there is some breather on here with the instrumental. There's some breather, little let down a little bit, then it kicks right back in. And then that kind of carries over into the records we're going to talk about later, because he gets really deep into that and gets more into the experience of the entire thing. So this is the kind of the first step into the experience, and it's perfect for me. But so number 2, Broken, love it.
Josh, Broken, go for it.
Definitely echoing a lot of what Tyler said. I freaking love this EP. You definitely sense Trent's rage and frustration in a lot of the songs. One thing I wanted to bring up, where is it? The song Last. Do you guys realize what song it sounds like? Did you guys pick up on that?
No.
All right, so there's a little song. There's a little song called "Time Bomb" by Godsmack. That's on their debut album. It's the same exact song.
So Godsmack stole it from Trent then.
Interesting.
Yeah. So like 6 years later, Godsmack. If you guys listen to it after this episode, it's the same exact guitar beat.
It's on the debut Godsmack record.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the only record that I like. That's.
Yeah.
I don't remember that song off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Okay, I remember this song now. Okay. Yeah, we don't have to
listen
do it
now. No, you're right.
Listen to the guitar and the beat. Yeah.
Yeah, like
it's the same exact song.
Okay. I do. I remember the song.
I even found YouTube videos with like people comparing them and like, Godsmack ripped off Nine Inch Nails.
Well, the funny part about that is that's a good job. I mean, the funny part about that, Godsmack is kind of a derivative. I like that record. I like that record a lot.
Yeah.
I think it's a really good record. But I understand Godsmack's a euphemism for other things. But Alice in Chains is a song called Godsmack. They take a lot from Alice in Chains, especially on that first record.
Yeah.
They have a song called Bad Religion on that record.
Yeah.
They're kind of derivative
When I revisited this album, I thought it was I honestly thought it was kind of cool. Like I wasn't pissed off or anything. Like
yeah.
I don't hate Godsmack any for doing that. So
I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Don't tell Trent though. He might be going back for some.
The songs are exactly the same though.
That's Josh. The fact that you had that, like, did that come to you the first time you heard it? You're like, oh shit, that's that Godsmack song.
Not the very first time. Like
okay.
Just doing this discography, like as I revisited that album, like I realized, like, oh shit,
nice.
Like, that sounds like it's like Godsmack pretty much ripped that off.
The deep Godsmack cut. So good call. Yeah, good call, Josh. All right. Yeah.
Happiness and Slavery is probably my favorite track. I still listen to the '94 Woodstock. That set list. Yeah. That's a really good set list. And I don't care if it's cover. Physical is a really fucking cool song.
It is.
Physical is a really good song. So I'll say Happiness and Slavery, Physical are my favorite tracks, and I put it in number 3.
Nice.
Gotcha. So in the top half. Yeah, I mean, this is considerably heavier than the debut. It's almost completely different. It sounds like he's kind of finding his sound now. Like, this is what I want to do. Very thicker production. I really love the production on this. It's funny. I'm a huge Fear Factory mark. The similarities between this and Soul of a New Machine, which is technically Fear Factory's debut, even though they had a record before that got shelved. Anyway, very similar. Soul of a New Machine came out a month prior to Broken. Very similar. Wow. Fear Factory's way heavier because Fear Factory takes a lot of death metal influence too and combines it all. So it's pretty interesting. And I was listening to Psalm 69, so some Ministry today too, because that came out, I want to say it's like 92 as well, or 93. Like, it's all right around the same time. And very interesting how all those things kind of sound alike all within the same time.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think there's any scene crossover there. I think they just all were pulling from. Obviously, I think Al and Trent ran in the same things, but I don't think Fear Factory did. But anyway, they're kind of drawing from the same influences and putting it out through their lens, and it all similar vibes. So I just found that funny. But like I said, I love the production. The guitars on this are great. They're the best guitar sound he ever got, bar none. It never got better than this. Like, I wish this production kept going. And I know people say Downward Spiral sounds. I don't think it does. I think like this is the best production he ever did, for what I've listened to anyway. I haven't listened to it all. Yeah. I think it's a great EP. I think it stands up with some of the greatest rock EPs of all time. Like, I would put this up with Alice in Chains, with Jar of Flies, with Sav. I would definitely put it up there. Went platinum in the US. So definitely took what the debut did, refined it into its own thing. It still sold well, even as an EP. So still really impressive. My standouts, obviously, Wish. Wish is a kind of an earlier, it's not a deep cut, but you know what I mean. It's kind of a earlier deep cut Nine Inch Nails song. It's not Closer or Head Like a Hole. Yeah. Because Behemoth actually covered that on one of their EPs. So nice. That's kind of my first exposure to the song. Outside of, I'm sure I heard it before with Josh because it's on that live record. So I did hear it before. I just kind of put it together more when they did it, and I was like, "Oh, it's a Nine Inch Nails song. Let's listen to the original." Last is my favorite Nine Inch Nails song. I discovered that throughout this. That is definitely. I think that's the best song. I love that version of this group, Trent, whatever you want to call it. Like, I think that guitar tone, it's chunky, it's heavy, it sounds otherworldly. It's really a natural guitar tone, but it's otherworldly. That's why I love Fear Factory, because they do the same thing. They take a lot of that stuff and refine it to the point where it sounds like guitar, but it's like it sounds like something else, which I love. I love that song. Happiness and Slavery is great. The whole thing stands out. I put this at my number 1 by far. It's not even close.
That's what I thought. That's exactly what I thought would happen. I mean, 100%, absolutely. Also, I should have mentioned production. Like, it does everything does ramp up, obviously, as you get more money. Even though this was recorded before they got the Interscope money, but as you get more money, you have more, things at your disposal, right? So, like,
Yeah.
I think the production got. I want to say I do want to say better, but it got more. I don't even want to say cleaner. I think it just got better. It got better because they had more things at their disposal. But also on Wish, when the guitars kick into Wish, is probably one of my favorite things that's ever happened in music. Because like it sounds because you don't know because the muffling of the music before it kicks in, your brain doesn't recognize that it's so muffled and whatever, right? And then once it kicks in with the guitars, it sounds so cool, and it's just a crazy change of pace from what you just heard the 10 seconds prior, or 40 seconds prior, or whatever, right? One of my favorite things ever. I can't get enough of it, and these songs live, just insane. That's so.
Definitely.
Also, the thing that I realized when I went through the listen is like, because I listen to a lot of live Nine Inch Nails. Like every week, my Monday usually kicks off because my YouTube will algorithm me everything I like, right, for better or worse, and it algorithms me Nine Inch Nails stuff all the time, right? So like I'll have a ton of live shows, and Nine Inch Nails Live, a guy that does an archive for them, he posts up all the live stuff on YouTube, and then he also has a download website. It's one of the best things ever. Anyway, but he's been getting a lot of tapes recently, and so he uploads the better tapes, the better rips of whatever the bootlegs. And so I listen to new stuff all the time. Anyway, my highlights though are from about this era or so, and just hearing them do Wish is just one of my favorite things in the world. I can't get enough of it. It's just so cool. And I watched the Woodstock probably twice a month, probably.
Definitely,
Like it's just
definitely agree with you
it's
there.
so good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really good.
Yeah, I can go on forever. I love it.
So yeah, we had a not a long layoff, especially for Trent, because it's way longer later, but just under 2 years until the big boy downward spiral. So Tyler,
Boom.
kick us off.
All right. So downward spiral here. Also just like the packaging here is just so cool. Like the artwork, it's just so gnarly looking. All right. So this is the record. Right. So this has all the songs that you pretty much know from Nine Inch Nails. A good majority of them are on here. So it kicks off with Mr. Self Destruct, which is one of the funnest live set songs ever. And I was gonna say, when I did the re-listen, I just realized that like I hear these live. Like I hear them when I hear the studio versions. It almost sounds weird to me because I hear them so much more often live. And so Mr. Self Destruct, one of those. Piggy, the Piggy into Heresy. I remember when I was an edgy like 15 or 14-year-old on MySpace or whatever, a lot of Heresy lyrics or whatever on my MySpace and like on my AIM buddy profile. A lot of, because I just want to be edgy. I just want to be an asshole edgy little kid, right?
Yeah.
So like God is dead, no one cares. If there is a hell, I'll see you there. It's one of the catchiest lines ever. Verses ever. And then March of the Pigs, obviously. That music video is so cool and it's 100% live too. So when you watch the music video, that's a real little live bit they did, and just perfect, just maniacal shit. They just lose it. Closer obviously it's the biggest. Like your mom knows Closer, your sister knows Closer. Like Luna is gonna know Closer. What do you want her to or not in like 3 years? Like it'll be in bouncing around the brain. Like it's just everywhere, right? And I'm over Closer. Like I'm over it. I've been over it for years. I've seen them 3 times. They've never played Closer, and I'm okay with that. I think I'm completely okay with that. I don't care for it. I don't need to hear it anymore. Ruiner is also another cool song. Becoming is a big fan favorite. Big Man with a Gun, cool song. Warm Place, Eraser, and then Reptile also killer song. And then that goes and winds down to Hurt, the last song on the record, which I don't know. It's probably pretty close. Hurt and like Closer. It's probably pretty close, I would say. Like,
I would say Hurt's big, just mostly because of cash, but
that's fair. Yeah, like, yeah, closer is on Spotify at least is the top streamed by 100 million plays, by the way.
yeah,
100 million plays difference between Hand That Feeds, which is a huge commercial song, and at 220 closer 108 on Hand That Feeds. So interesting.
yeah, it's
It's nuts. Anyway, for me, at this point in time, I get stoked from Self Destruct. I get stoked from Merch the Pigs, and I still love Hurt quite a bit, and I am bummed out because one of my favorite songs of all time did not make the cut because they put it in Natural Born Killers, but it's from these sessions and it's on the deluxe. That is Burn.
Yeah.
That is one of my favorite songs ever.
That's a cool song.
Super cool song. It is just badass. Like, I've never seen them do Burn live, and that kills me every time because it's just so crazy. The guitars are so massive, so loud, it's so angry, it's so aggressive, and it's got one of the coolest guitar riffs ever. So yeah, anyway. So for me, when I did my ranking here, with all the records, Downward Spiral was at number 3.
Wow.
All right.
Josh, Downward Spiral. Go for it.
All right. Once again, Tyler's on the ball. I agree with a lot of what he said. March of the Pigs is a freaking cool song. Piggy, Hearsay, like Tyler said, you can listen to all the different live concerts of these songs, and they sound so freaking cool live. It's obviously a nostalgic album for me. I don't care if I heard Closer 10,000 times, I still never skip it if it comes on a playlist. I do love Hurt, but like Ty said, it's probably more popular because of Johnny Cash. That's a fair statement.
It's a great song. It's just I think Cash did it better.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a Johnny Cash song.
Yeah.
I think part of that too is because of the video. Like it's
And I also wrote down on my notes, God is Dead, No One Cares, just like Tyler said. It's just some catchy lyrics on this album. I'd say Hearsay, Piggy, March of the Pigs are my favorites, and I put it number 2.
Nice.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you had Pretty Hate Machine at number 1?
Correct.
Josh? Okay. All right, so here we go. I don't even know really where to begin. This is obviously the most hyped record in the catalog. I know the singles. I'm gonna get it out of the way too. I'm just gonna talk about this first. Because you guys already have alluded to it. The frustrating part about now going forward is listening to these albums is all these songs sound better live. Which I don't know is a testament to the live performance or a detriment to the production and the album experience. I don't know if that's a negative or positive thing. That's just I think that's the fact.
I think it's a Kiss thing. I think it's a Kiss thing, but like not as intense as Kiss because Kiss like was dead in the water before they put out a live. I guess that's the story at least. At least Nine Inch Nails did sell, but I mean after they toured a bunch, whatever, right? But the energy live cannot be conveyed in the studio. It just can't. Like it's just different. You're right.
So this is the record I listened to the most because the first time I listened to it, I just was getting pissed off. I was honestly just like, this is not working for me. And then I'll listen to it again. Like, all right, it'll grow. And then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna listen to some of the live cuts. Okay. And I'm like, okay, these songs are much better live. And Tyler, I don't know, you can probably answer this question. That live record, is that live or is there shit done to it?
No, everything's live. No, everything. Okay. Every live thing I've done is 100% live.
Okay.
The
crowd sounds like really, really high in the mix. Like the crowd sounds like it kind of sounds like SmackDown levels of crowd sometimes. So
yeah,
I don't know.
So they filmed because it's a DVD too. They filmed and recorded. I want to say like 90% of the tour. They did a lot of video cuts on there and or a lot of taping. And they just picked the best from the best, whatever, right? And they didn't sweeten anything. They made it sound better, I guess, right? They did everything else, but like, the crowd is super high in that mix. You're right.
Okay, all right.
That's just the way I hear it forever in my mind.
So I did this in order too. So I went from Broken, straight to this. I really like Broken a lot. I obviously put it in my number one. I think Last is the best thing out of this stuff that I've heard that he and them or whatever have ever put to tape. I think this production is kind of overproduced most of the time. I think it's kind of a mess. Like I've read a lot of reviews and everybody's like, oh yeah, the guitars are there. I don't hear it. That guitar tone from Last and Wish are not here. They're buried in all the other shit. And I'm going to be like, I was reading a lot about this. Like he was listening to like The Wall and David Bowie's Low and shit like that. And like, you're like, Trent's not Roger Waters. You're not David Bowie. You're not Brian Wilson. Like I'm going to be real. I'm being really real. I think there's some cool songs here. Heresy's a really cool song. I like Heresy. I think March of Pigs is okay. The live version trounces it.
Yeah.
True.
So, like, how am I supposed to rank the record when the live version is so much better? I think it's way overhyped on the album.
Like, I hate, like, no, you're 100% right there. I hate listening to the studio of March the Pigs, because the way that, like, okay, so when it breaks down, right, and then it gets very quiet, and then Trent says, what's he say? He says, whatever.
Don't you feel better? Won't you?
There, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then
doesn't it make it feel better?
Yeah. And then it clicks back in. Like it doesn't have the same effect or like the same like feel as the live stuff. Like you're right. It's a very like it's hard to like I guess I'm so far out of it I don't think about it this way, but obviously you're not, so you do. But you're right. It's hard not to hear these songs and just want to go listen to live shit because it is so much better live. Also, fun fact here, they recorded this in the Sharon Tate house. I don't know why I didn't mention that.
Yeah. I did do that.
So they recorded, cool. Not intentionally, supposedly. Supposedly, the urban legend is that that's not true, and Brent said it wasn't true. He didn't know when they took him to someplace to record. He didn't know what the house was or whatever, right? And there is a cool. That's what he says, right? It can't be like why? Like no, you're the creepy gothy kid. We're gonna take you to the Sharon Tate house. Like I guess, but like also you probably asked for it. Let's be honest, or whatever. You knew something. But there is a cool so I got a couple things. So there is a cool video for Gave Up that Manson's in actually, and Manson plays bass, even though Manson doesn't play a fucking instrument. But Manson plays bass in the video, and so it's just a studio video, and they're just playing in the studio, and you see a very early Apple interface with whatever they were calling, GarageBand or Pro Tools or whatever what it was. But you see like a 1994 interface of the Mac, Macintosh system, whatever. But I was gonna say the reason I bring that up though is it's cool, but also like Trent was always trying to be and is still to this day trying to be the cutting edge. So like I think he was one of the first guys to dive into like recording with computers, like to actually do this digitally, like to make sure all of this stuff can be manipulated, can be fucked around. I can do anything I want to do. I think he was the first guy to actually want that and do it, and get so involved with it.
I think part of the problem with that though is like it's to me this record comes off like Phil Spector, like a wall of sound, like, and I'm okay with that sometimes. But let me finish. I got some more, so let me finish out.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I think Piggy's a dumb song. That song's bad. It's dumb.
Come on.
It's a bad song. And I'm gonna echo this a lot now going forward. I think a lot of these songs work better as a soundtrack to a video game or a movie score, which is telling considering what most of his output is now. To put this into my world, he reminds me a lot of Hideo Kojima, Hideo Kojima is a video game director that always wanted to direct films, but never could. Trent reminds me of a guy who always wanted to do movie scores, but just kind of got into this music thing and started doing that. Now he's doing, movie scores and shit like that, but like it went reverse. Because there's some great, really cool parts in here that I'd pick out and like, yeah, this would be, I could picture this in a movie like Terminator, Matrix, or something like that. And then The problem with that is I listen to a lot of soundtracks. I like soundtracks. Video game soundtracks are probably one of my most other listened to things outside of music and like metal. In general, it's probably number 2. But I need to have a tie to it. Like, I can't just like, oh, I'm gonna listen to the Oppenheimer soundtrack. Like, I have to see that movie before I want to listen to the soundtrack.
Yeah,
Now I
yeah.
can tie those scenes in. So a lot of this is just listening to things that like I'm trying to put a visual to that I don't have. So maybe I should have watched all the videos that were released or whatever, and you know what I'm saying. And maybe it
Yeah.
would have clicked more better there. I think "Closer" is a great song. Like Tyler said, it's severely overplayed. It's tired. Um, I think it's easily the best song on the record, though. Like, it's the best written, and I think it's the best production on the record. It's clear to me, like, this is the single. Like, this is the song. I think he's very good at that too. We'll get to that very later. I think he's very good at writing the song that, okay, this is the radio video song. And they're great. I think it's a frustrating album for me. I think I understand it's supposed to be this concept. I think it fails as a concept record, though. I think it fails.
I never
piece.
listen to it like that. You're right. I never hear that. I don't ever have that visualization whenever I listen to the record. 100%. You're right.
Like, when I listen to concept records, I need to I like to be taken on that journey. Like, those interludes have to mean something to me. The interludes here don't mean anything to me. Like, they don't mean anything. Like, it doesn't tie into the rest of the songs. Like, you listen to Operation Mindcrime, and it tells a story. Like, all the interludes mean something, even when they're not playing. There's dialogue and stuff like that. Like The Wall, the same thing. There's a way to do it, and I think he's trying. I think here he was in over his head. I honestly believe that. I think "Hurt's" a great song. It's really well written. I don't like the production on this at all. For "Hurt," the live version's way better. It's frustrating to me. I wanted to enjoy this way more. This is 4 times platinum in the States. It's probably way more than that, because last time I looked it up, it's like that was circa like 2000. So it's probably way more than that. "Closer," "Hurt," "Heresy." I liked "Ruiner" quite a bit too. So there's a number of things I liked. I just like it was tough for me because of those aforementioned reasons. All that being said, I still put it at 4. I put it right in the middle. I understand I'm tearing it down, but it's a pretty hyped record. So like, I'm not gonna just go in and and slob the knob. So yeah,
No,
I
get
put it at 4.
No, I can hear all that. Like, I can hear that. I don't think you're crazy. I think you're crazy because "Closer" is the best written song on the record. I think that is crazy, but I can understand the points that you have there. I get it. Like, also, "Closer" is among the most interesting sounds on the record, because the only reason why I'm sick of it. I'm over, right? Whatever, right? But like, if I did come at this, if I was New Year's, like totally New Year's, I think just like I did back then, like, it's not because it was just so risque and like it's whatever to say, to have
I think
have fuck in a song. It's the fact that like the sounds that he was using there were so weird. Like, it just sounded as different as it could be, right? It ever could be, and that's very intriguing for young people and for any first time listeners.
I've heard that song a million times. It's still catchy. Like, the piano, the synth piano, the intro, the outro. Like, it tells a story within that, when contained within its 6 minutes. Like, I think it's a really well written song. That's why I think it's the best song on there. I don't want to listen to it again, but I still think it's obvious to me why it's so big, beyond the fact that it's just risque and chicks want to strip to it, and it's their risky song. But that's my downward spiral rant. So we had a long layoff, drugs, alcohol, a lot of doing things. A lot of things you shouldn't be doing, but took all the way to basically it's 5 years later, a little over. September 21st, 1999, we got The Fragile. So Tyler, if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, so got that here. This is one of the better sets that I have here. It's the big book. It's a triple LP, I believe. And I love this record. So I'll be the first. So this is about about when I start turning on and like start noticing things a little bit. And I start like, because when this came out, it was a big hype record because it was the first Nine Inch Nails after the big record that was Downward Spiral. It's the first Nine Inch Nails that came out. There's been little things like little EPs and like little soundtrack things, whatever, since, you know, just before this and even after this, whatever, right? But no full records, right? So I remember on TRL on I think, yeah, I believe on TRL, Trent was on there, and that was like a huge deal that he was on there. He was like thought about it like he's a visionary or something, right? And so I was like, oh, that's a guy. I don't know. I don't really remember all everything that was said, but like I just remember that he was on there, and there was like MTV specials for it and stuff, and it was fucking awesome. The visual for it was just fucking awesome. So I I love the Fragile, but I will be the first to tell you that it is bloated. Like there is stuff on here that we don't need to that doesn't need to be on here. So like this is Trent was real messed up. He was real coked out and possibly messing around with a little bit of H, possibly, who knows. But he was in a bad way, and he also was going through writer's block, and he didn't know how to follow up Downward Spiral because he was never supposed to have any success at all. And then he had the most success he could possibly ever. He started playing clubs on the Downward Spiral tour, and then moved up to arenas by the end of it. So like, you know, and then Woodstock '94 happened, which I still think is one of the best live shows ever, and that put them on the map. And so they went and toured arenas for the next 2 years, basically, right? And then so all that stuff rolled into not being able to release a record for all the years, and then finally putting out the Fragile. So Day the World Went Away, first single. I love that song. I still love that song. It's not overplayed to me because I actually don't even really hear it there that often. So I still love that. My favorite song I found later on a mixed CD because I didn't have the CD for the longest time because I was a child. But on a mixed CD that I stole from my cousin when I was house sitting for him, he had a big stack of blank CDs, and or I guess they were written on, but they were like Nine Inch Nails was written on one, and I was like, I need to get that. And We're in This Together was on the mix, and so to me, that is my favorite song on the entire record. The video is super cool, and just the production and just the vocals on there, which he can't do live, unfortunately, because there's a little bit too high in the strain of the vocal. So he's only played that live a handful of times ever. And so for my money, that's my favorite. Into the Void was the third single. I like Into the Void too. Somewhat Damaged kicks it off. That's a great song. And then Just Like You Imagine, another cool song. Lemire is a cool song. And then to talk about this, like you said before, so my obsession with the band stems from the '02 live release and All That Could Have Been. We already talked about that earlier. That's from this tour. So when I listen to this record, the songs that I don't necessarily care for, let's just say, I don't care for them, but I appreciate the live performance much more because that's the record I'm obsessed with. I'm obsessed with the live record. And I was for years, the only thing I had for years. So when I hear Lemire, when I hear The Great Below, when I hear even Starfuckers, like Starfuckers was a huge song. That was a big video too because it was controversial because he was throwing baseballs through the fake the porcelain faces of like the pop stars and whatever of the time, including Manson and Courtney Love and whatever else and himself. But I just hear the live stuff so much more because I want to hear that. Like that's what I'm so accustomed to. So The Great Below, that's one of my favorite moments they ever did live. I've watched that constantly. I saw it today on my algorithm, the live video from that tour, from that release. So like just obsessed with it. I love this record a lot. Again, it's bloated. I don't need all that. I don't need Pilgrimage. I don't need Complication. I don't need Ripe. I don't need it all. I don't need Please. Mark Has Been Made is a fucking super cool track. I don't need any of that. It's a double record that didn't need to be a double record. But again, he was going for the atmospheric transitions, interludes, and everything else. So he wants to have such an expansive soundscape and different twists and turns along the way, I suppose. So like whatever. Anyway, I love the Fragile. On my listing here, I put it at 5.
Gotcha. Josh, what you got?
All right, very close to what Tyler said. I like Tyler. I do love my depression albums, my drug abuse albums. But
Hell yeah.
this one is just bloated. There's too many songs. Um, I do like We're All This Together, Into the Void, Starfuckers. Um, what's the other one? The Great Below is another cool song. There's some deep lyrics. Staring at the sea, will she ever? How's it go? Staring at the sea, will she ever see me?
Yeah.
Another good song. But basically, all the things Tyler said, I put it at number 6.
All right.
All right. All right. I think the production on this is way better than Downward Spiral. Like, I think that I pick out more things in it. I think there's more complete songs here and more fulfilled ideas as well. Sometimes, caveat with that. Some of it leaves a lot of you unsatisfied though, and you're wanting more. It's like you're listening to the song. There's a really cool part, and it's like, just run that out for like 20 more seconds, dude, and then it skips to something else. And like,
Yeah.
I respect it. I love prog. I respect it, but like, it's when I go into like an industrial electronic thing, a record, like I don't care if I'm hearing the same thing over and over again for 3 minutes. Like that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
So like a lot of this like stoppiness, changing, and some of that falls short for me. It's way too fucking long. Nothing needs to be near 2 hours long. It's almost 2 hours long. I do think a lot of like the progginess on this is less jarring than Downward Spiral. Like, because I went from Broken to Downward, and then like you hear acoustic guitars on Downward Spiral. Like, I don't want to hear acoustic guitars in any industrial at all. Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Like, I respect the progginess, but like, I don't like that genre. I want to hear a specific thing. So I think the bricks that were laid with Downward Spiral, like this, it was less of like, oh, this is totally different than Broken or Pretty Hate Machine. It's like, okay, I see where the progression is going.
Yeah.
I wasn't getting pissed off as much listening to this. I did write that down.
Nice.
I was tired by the end of it, though. I was tired by the end. A lot of these songs do remind me of the Super Metroid soundtrack. I don't know if Trent's into. I know he's into video games because obviously Quake. Yeah. I listened to the Quake soundtrack again, and that's a great soundtrack.
Yeah.
So, like a lot, Super Metroid came out like 93, 94. That came out like years before this. So like I could pick out some Super Metroid songs for you, Tyler, and you'd be like, yeah, this sounds very, very similar.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all. Like I would track for me, honestly.
Yeah. Disc 2 is a lot of nothing. I put that down on there. Complication was a pretty cool song. That was one I picked off of there. I think there's one, like Tyler said, one really good to great album worth of material here. This did go double platinum in the States. It debuted at number 1, so there was obviously a huge demand. Like Tyler said, my standouts for me, The Wretched, really dug that song. We're in This Together, Just Like You Imagined, and No You Don't. So those are my standouts. So it's funny. I picked out more standouts than I did Downward Spiral, but I put it at number 5, and I tossed around between where to put it. I almost put it above Downward Spiral, but I think Downward Spiral just gets the legacy bump. I think because I understand the importance of the album. So,
nice.
So yeah. Then we had another pretty big layoff. So all the way up till
more drinking.
Yeah. All the way up till May 3rd, 2005 with Teeth. That dropped May 3rd, 05. I remember this coming out vividly.
Yeah,
100%.
Tyler,
this is my first release. Yeah, it's my first record. It's the first one. So like, it's the first one. Well, I mean, I've heard Nine Inch Nails. The first one I ever like was able to hype. I knew was coming out, and I was like anticipating like, oh, this is gonna happen. Like, I wonder what it's gonna sound like, right? So there was a lot of mystery. I was 14 years old, or I wasn't even 14 yet. I was 13. And I was just completely enthralled with anything Nine Inch Nails because the look at this point, I didn't know what it all meant, but like I liked the glitch art. and just the colors. I remember seeing stickers and seeing the album artwork and just being kind of, interested in that, and being very, very like curious what's going on here. So, Dad took me to Tower Records at Desert Ridge when that still existed. It's now a children's place, but before it was a Tower Records. And my dad bought me, which they did have the record. They did have the vinyl. They did have the vinyl there, and I remember like I didn't say anything about it. I was never like I was not going to buy that or I didn't have any money. So like I remember asking Dad if he could buy me a CD, and he's like, "Yeah, what do you want?" And I said, "I wanted this. It just came out." And the record was like next to it sort of, and he's like, all right. So I got it and I went home and I didn't take it out of my CD player for forever. It was a return to form for them. It got them, it might be their biggest commercial record. Maybe it came out at the worst time with album sales. I don't know exactly how much it sold, but it has to have gone maybe twice platinum, let's say 3 times platinum, maybe.
Wiki says it's certified gold.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it didn't even kick off there.
But I don't know when that was, though, so I could try to find it. But
that's fair. Yeah, so it went number 1 immediately when it got released, and it's a different record. It's Trent's first sober record. He didn't know if he was going to be able to record or write anything worthwhile once he got sober, because he also was under that whole thing that artists do, where like, I am a slave to my addictions, and that's what gives me my inspiration. So here we are. I got to keep doing this. And so he got sober and he started working out, started getting super big arms, and just become a super stud. And so they put out Hand That Feeds First. And I remember they leaked the video online, and people didn't know if it was a real video or not. And then once the video got officially released on MTV or Fuse or wherever, it was a really big deal. That song kicks ass. It's a very, very cool song. It's we start getting into the more political side of things here, where he starts critiquing the Bush administration at that point, and because we're talking about very early on Iraq, Afghanistan was already happening. We're right into Iraq, and so it was a very different world at that point. I guess sort of a different world. I don't know.
Not really.
Yeah, like it's different things, but so Hand That Feeds got really big. Also, Only was another big single that got off there, and it's I don't know, man. Like, I have a lot of nostalgia here. All Love in the World kicks off very interestingly, very quietly, and then everything kind of builds up and builds up and builds up, and I think it delivers quite often. One of the dumbest songs on here is The Collector. That's always the one that everybody goes to, is a dumb song. The dumb lyrics, like, whatever, like that. People always go there with it. It's among one of the worst songs he ever wrote. But yeah, I still love it. But I love Love's Not Enough. I still love Getting Smaller. I love Sunspots. Like, there's a lot of quiet, a lot of like just groove in here, and then it goes and builds up into something super loud. So the quiet, loud thing, he started going more there on this record, and right where it belongs. Beside You in Time, Line Begins to Blur, those last 3 tracks to close the record out, just perfect. But yeah, so anyway, I ranked. I love this record so much, and I have so much nostalgia here, and it reminds me of so many things in my life. I put it at number 1.
Wow.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
Josh, what you got?
All right. So I feel like this album is very underrated. There's a lot of cool songs on there. The opening track, All the Love in the World, is a great song. The Hand That Feeds, I still love that song. Only is another cool song. Every Day is Exactly the Same. I feel like the album should have had more singles. I think it only had 3 singles, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I'll say The Hand That Feeds and Only is my favorite songs, and I put it at number 4.
Ooh, all right.
Gotcha. Yeah, so I was digging deeper here. It was gold as of 2005. It's never been recertified. So it very well could be platinum by now.
Yeah, it should be.
Or more. It's weird it's weird how you have to pay to get it certified, because like they're not going to do that. So most labels aren't going to, especially when it doesn't.
I think the RIA I think that they put a lot. I mean, it's important to us dumb fans. We talk about it every week, right? But like for a lot, or maybe not a lot, but for certain bands, they're not going to fucking do that because they know it's not going to sell one more unit. No one's going to listen to this because it's 7 times platinum and not 10 times over the last 10. No one's going to do that, right? So they don't give a shit. Also, forgot about this. Side note, on this, Dave Grohl plays drums on this record on like 5 or 6 songs of the record. And what's funny is that Dave talked about it in the hype for their last record in a video. I don't know if it got on your radar or not, but on in like one of the interviews or whatever, they were talking about I think they asked him if he read music or if he had music theory or whatever. Like he had one of those questions, and he was like, "No, I don't." He was like, "I went and I recorded drums for Nine Inch Nails with Trent Reznor, and I realized very quickly that I was not a musician." He's like, "I went in there, and he was doing drums on With Teeth." That's the drums he was doing. Because what's funny is in the clip he plays the drums, like he does the sounds for the song, and it's been 15 years since he did it. Like when he was in the interview, so like he still remembered it, right? But like he just did the drums for it, and then he goes back in the studio. He's like, "All right, so what do we got here?" And Atticus and Trent were like, "Okay, yeah, we need it here, like on this beat, like do it on the downbeat or whatever." He said, he just musician shit, and then Dave's like, "Okay, yeah, for sure." Did the same thing over again, and then Trent said the same thing. And he's like, "No, we need it like here." And he's like, "I thought I'm doing that here." He's like, and then I think Trent goes, "Where do you think the beat is?" Or he asked him some like rudimentary question. And then Dave's like, "I don't know. I don't know." And he's like, they're real musicians. I'm not. I understand that now. So anyway, I'm sorry, Ty, go on.
No, that's pretty funny. Yeah, I remember when this came out vividly. I remember Hand That Feeds got played constantly on KUPD. I remember being in the shadow, hearing Hand That Feeds.
Shout out.
Quite a bit. So shout out Dan Brooks and the Dodge Shadow.
1990 Shadow.
With the one working speaker, and you didn't want to turn it up because if you turned it up, it would break. So
and in a few short years, that would be on fire in the middle of the street.
No, that was vehicle number 2.
That was the neon.
Oh, I thought the shadow burned down. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay.
The shadow broke down. The neon burned down.
Burned down. Yeah. I'm sorry. Burned down. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a Plymouth, so it makes sense. It's all the same family.
Yeah, the shadow broke down, and his text or something was like, "Oh, I think engines need oil." So that was So there you go. But yeah, I have vivid memories of hearing that song constantly, and the new Nine Inch Nails dropped. Here you go, Hand That Feeds. I really dig that song. Still one of my favorite Nine Inch Nails songs. Still holds up, and that goes back to my point where I think Trent's very good at like, okay, this is the radio song. Like this is the song that's going to catch, because a lot of the records have at least one of those, and to me, they're usually the best songs. It's a more focused effort, definitely, than the Fragile. It benefits from a less meandering songwriting approach. Like everything's kind of cohesive. It's definitely a grower. I listened to it 2 or 3 times because it's a pretty short record too. I think it's under 50 minutes. So a lot of the songs I didn't have an immediate connection to, other than like Hand That Feeds. So I had to listen to it a couple times. But I started digging it more and more as I listened to it and hearing more of the songs. I dig the production. Like a lot of these later records to me kind of sound similar-ish, but I like it. So yeah, I think it's a pretty solid album, all things considered. It kind of underrated. like I don't think you hear it talked about a lot anymore for whatever reason. And I put it at number 3. Like I really dig it.
Nice.
Yeah. I think it is underrated. I also think like I think that layoff might have hurt a little bit, and then people were unsure about like what to do. Like it still went number 1, so it's weird to say that, but like it from 1999 to 2006, 2005, that's a completely different world.
Yeah,
like it's totally changed.
It's also a way different album. than the
Yeah.
Fragile. It's more cohesive, it's tighter, it's not double disc, it's less of an investment. So like people had the long wait between Downward Spiral to the Fragile, and then you get this gargantuan double disc. You listen to that, and then you have another giant wait, and then it's like, well, I don't know if I want to get into this. So
Yeah.
I could see why and it's obviously a different time. You're starting to lose physical sales anyway. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's like I said, I think it is underrated. So
Yeah. To
we
be
didn't go ahead, Josh.
to be honest, it was harder for me not to put it lower than number 4. Like I wanted to do it, but I
Okay,
just couldn't.
gotcha. No, it's a good record. I think it's a
Yeah.
grower too.
Hmm.
It's one out of this list that I definitely want to go back to. So we had a shorter layoff, much shorter layoff. So April 17th, 07, so less than 2 years later, we got Year Zero. So Tyler, give us your thoughts.
Yes. All right. So Year Zero, 2 years. They recorded much of it and they wrote much of it on the road with Teeth. Because Trent got inspiration from what was happening around in the country or whatever, and he viewed the Christian dystopia coming on. He saw that coming on pretty rapidly with the Bush administration, so he just started writing, and he wrote the record Year Zero. It's concept record. So what's funny is that like as while not as gargantuan as you would say in comparison to what the Fragile is, he went from a shorter record with Teeth back to a long guy. It's a little over an hour. So it's a full concept record. It's all about the Christian dystopian world. It's all about them taking over every facet of your life. And they had a massive, and this is probably the most fun record that they ever did for me because I remember being in high school. I was in high school. My buddy Dylan and I found out Dylan was a huge Nine Inch Nails fan. So every day in Spanish, sophomore year of high school, we would just talk to each other about like what's going on with the alternative reality game, or alternate reality game, whatever. And so they paid a production company. They came up with Trent came up with a lot of it, and the people that actually executed obviously were not him. But they had websites set up. They basically had an entire internet intranet set up with special Easter eggs. People dropped USBs in the bathrooms of shows, and then you pop the USB into your computer, which is very dangerous. Don't ever do that, kids. But
Yeah.
Yeah. Please don't.
yeah, you pop it into your computer, and then it would give you like sometimes give you songs. So I think another version of the truth or a different version of the truth, whatever it is, I think that was on there. And then that was one of the USB tracks. And also there was like just like you had to like it was really stupid intelligent too, which I think maybe they did it too smartly because I don't believe Nine Inch Nails fans are that intelligent, and they are. They're a smarter fan base. They get weirder stuff than they get into stuff. But anyway, I tell you this because they would hide web addresses in like voice notes and stuff, and like or audio tracks. So you actually had to count and like look at like the Morse code and stuff to find out other websites to go to. Like it's really involved and crazy. They also had fake phone calls out there that had like the people blowing up buildings and stuff and blowing up Wrigley Field and doing sniper shots. Like it was a really intense little game there. They also did a thing where they handed out cell phones, I believe, to strangers, not to Nine Inch Nails fans. They handed out cell phones on the streets of LA, and they said, and it was like, "What are you doing tonight?" And they said, "Nothing." If you had to be free, and they said, "Okay, we're gonna give you a phone. Go to the location that the phone call tells you to at 7 o'clock, and whatever." And so the phone call came through and told them to go to a location. Those people got picked up into a bus, like a fucking unmarked bus that's all plastered up on the side or whatever, or like boarded up so they can't see where they're going, and took them to a warehouse basically where an actor cut a promo on them, basically just telling them to give a shit and that the world is coming to an end and everything else, whatever they're living in that time. And you can see this whole thing on YouTube. It's crazy. They put everything out there, and so then the guy goes on for like a 8-9 minute promo straight, like really well too, and then he walks off, and then Nine Inch Nails plays, and they play "We're in This Together," which is one of the only times I've ever played it, which is super cool. But they played a set for them, and I don't know if they were fans. I don't believe they were directly fans, but anyway, whatever. I can go on and on for about this forever. This is straight. So it's a full concept record. I love this record a lot. The Survivalism was the lead single on there. The video was super cool. I loved the different videos and whatever, because they made it seem like the government was watching you. Obviously, Big Brother stuff everywhere, and so they did a lot of that. They also worked with Saul Williams on some of this, I believe, too. I think Saul did the full remix of the record, which is super cool. But he's a rapper guy. For my money, for my favorite songs in this, because I'm talking too much. I love Survivalism. I love Capital G. It's another song. It's sort of about Bush, but it's also about greed. It's not directly about George Bush, but it's about greed, capital G. And The Great Destroyer, another cool song. Me, I'm Not, Vessel, another version of The Truth, and then Zero Sum closes it out. I love this record so much. It's probably my most nostalgic record listening to, because it's just like going to school every day or whatever. But it's hard to rank things, so I hate it. I put it below The Fragile. I put it at 6. Talking about it now, I could have flipped them. I really could have flipped them. I'll keep it at 6, and whatever. So yeah. Anyway, Year Zero, love it.
Nice. Josh, your thoughts?
All right, definitely echo a lot of what Tyler said. It's a cool concept album. A lot of fun songs on there. I get like a lot of 80s funky vibes, kind of like old school Nine Inch Nails. I do like the beginning of the end. Survivalism is a cool song, like Tyler mentioned. The Good Soldier is another cool song. Vessel this album just kind of keeps going for me. Like Vessel is a cool song. Definitely love Capital G. I remember hearing that one on the radio quite a bit when it first came out.
Nice.
I'd say another version of Truth and Capital G are my favorites. I put it number 5.
Gotcha. I have no timescape of this album coming out other than Tyler, because I remember you talking about it. I don't remember any of the singles on the radio. I was into my own shit at this point. Like, I was into more extreme stuff, so yeah, basically all of this is a first time listen. My initial thought on it is this album suffers from a lot of what other Nine Inch Nails album suffers from. It's great soundtrack music. And they wanted to eventually make this into like a TV show or a movie. And I was reading the movie got canceled because they couldn't get a writer and all this other shit. So, but again, I need a visual over this to be really entertained, because again, I understand it's a concept record, but I don't feel the concept. And I'm going to take it back to Mindcrime, which Mindcrime basically does this same thing almost 20 years before. It's a very similar story. Mindcrime has the characters within it, so you're getting the story. Like this, it's songs interspliced with interludes that are just like instrumentals. I'm not getting it, and I didn't read the lyrics, so I probably would if I sat down and read the lyrics with it. So I'm gonna put that caveat in there. I think it's a cool concept though. Like, it's a little on the nose. It's heavy handed. Like, it's not anything that hasn't been done before. And anytime, like, I was so deep into the, like, I don't listen to black metal anymore because of it's against Christianity. Like, I listen to it because I like the music. So I was so deep into that shit in high school, like all the edgelord shit. Like, now, like, records that do that, they don't attract me anymore, because it's just like, to me, that's some of the bottom feeder shit to write about. I think it's cool nonetheless, though. Like, he does a good job with it. He does suffer from George Lucas syndrome. Like, he needs somebody to tell him no sometimes. Like, hey, let's cut this out. Like, let's trim this. Steve Harris does too. Steve Harris is one of my favorite people in the world. Steve Harris has the same exact problem from Iron Maiden. So, I think it meanders by the end. Like, you're just getting soundscapes at the end.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Okay, Devin Townsend. He does similar shit, but he'll release it and say, this is an ambient record. Do you like ambient shit? Check this out. I know, hey, I'm probably not going to listen to that. Like, I don't go into a new Devin record and then it's full of like soundscapes and shit and like get pissed off because he tells people. Like, Great Destroyer is just sounds. Like, it just sounds. Like, towards the end, it's just like, that's what I put. I'm like, all right, this is just sounds.
The vocal on there, with the layering and the million layers is super cool though.
Yeah, I think at the end though, like it's too much. Like I'm just
Yeah.
like I'm not hearing any music anymore. And like I understand it's weird because I listen to black metal, death metal. Like I don't have to have melody and hooks to enjoy songs, but like I don't know. Like industrial, like that type of shit. Like I kind of need those hooks and like that repetition and like I don't know. My standouts for me are the beginning of the end and Capital G. I thought those were pretty cool songs. I put it at number 6.
All right, nice.
And then we had another very short layoff, so we're getting very prolific. Like we're making up for lost time here. So
100%.
basically, almost a year later, May 5th, 2008, we got The Slip. So Tyler, kick us off.
All right, so got this. Still sealed, by the way. Still sealed.
Oh wow!
So
nice.
I got this is a good few Benjamins here. So I got The Slip. The Slip
is that an original pressing or?
Oh yeah. That's the
okay.
It's hell yeah. It's
Very cool.
All right.
Yeah. So they numbered all of these. They numbered all the CDs too. Maybe they didn't number this officially. I think it's a really low number. So at this point, Trent started to he was going to do the pay what you want. So that model, because Radiohead beat him to it. They put out In Rainbows, which had the same concept model right before this record. I don't know the dates they are, but they're right before this record came out.
Yeah.
So kind of like pissed on him a little bit there with his idea, because at this point he was breaking away from Interscope. I don't think this is on. I think this is on just his own thing, right? It's on Knoll.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, it's on Knoll. So no longer Interscope, and he was sick with the label model and put this out. And it was kind of like a surprise deal almost. I want to say it was like a midnight drop. And then here, download it, pay what you want, whatever. And that's kind of how it went down. This record, like, honestly, like it kind of like I was 2008. I was a sad boy, but maybe I was out of Nine Inch Nails for that minute, because as much as I remember The Slip, I don't remember very much. Okay. I went back, and this is actually one of the ones I needed to like go back to and like really listen to and take in. And then it kind of clicked back in, like I did here at the time. The intro, the 99999 into the Million is a kick-ass song. I still play that from time to time. I still like a Million a lot. Letting You is the next song. A lot of loud guitars, a lot of just cool like little hooks or whatever. And then Discipline and Echoplex are kind of the end of this kind of trickles down here. I think it's top heavy. It's pretty top heavy. And then Lights in the Sky on side B. I like that song, but it's kind of like the last song I really like, because then there's 12 minutes of instrumental with Corona Radidia and The Four of Us Are Dying. Full instrumentals on there. I enjoy them. Not going back, and whatever. And then Demon Seed closes it, and isn't anything that I personally want to write home about. So The Slip. When I went back and listened to this again, was pretty disinterested, because I was initially as well. I put this at number 7.
Gotcha. Josh.
Yeah, definitely agree with what Tyler said there. Definitely a bit top heavy, a lot of instrumentals. I can understand if like older Nine Inch Nails fans wouldn't like this album. Discipline's a cool song. 1 Million's a cool song. I also like Echoplex, Demon Seed. Yeah, I put it at number 7 as well.
You got you. Yeah, go ahead, Josh.
Just a bit top heavy. There's like I think like the last few tracks in there are like 14 minutes of instrumentals. Yeah. So you can trim some of the fat on this one.
Yeah, I mean, I was reading about this, and it was supposed to be an EP, and then he just kept doing songs. So that's usually you're going to start trimming the fat when something's supposed to be 5 songs, and you're going to double it. I will say though, I was more drawn into this than Year Zero, like immediately, because I was like, oh, this has actual real instruments again. Okay, cool. And there's some like actual songs on this record, and I'm like, all right, cool. And then we got to just Corona Radiata. It's 7 minutes of nothing. I'm just like, why is this here? I like instrumentals. I love instrumentals. Some of my favorite Rush songs are instrumentals. Like I said, I love listening to video game soundtracks. 99.9% of those are instrumentals. So like I wanted to like some of this shit way more than I did, unfortunately. But it started really promising. And I guess I was kind of disappointed by the end. I wanted to like this way more. Demon Seed is pretty okay. I do like the production on it. It's pretty clean. Like I think it's a little better than Year Zero. I like the fact that he started doing Creative Commons stuff too. That's really cool. That's actually really innovative. Like even beyond like pay what you want. Like the Creative Commons shit and just letting people, all right, here's the files. Put it to GarageBand, remix it, do whatever you want. That's very cool. That's a very video game mindset. Like Bethesda does that stuff with Elder Scrolls and the modding scene and Fallout and stuff like that. So I don't know if he got that from that type of stuff too. So I really dig that. That being said, I put it at number 8. It fell to the bottom for me though. I wanted to like it more. It just didn't. When all is said and done, it hit number 8. So
yeah.
Then we had another long layoff. Did some other shit.
Mm-hmm.
Did some soundtracks.
Broke the band up.
Yeah. Then we had 5 years. 5-year wait. August 30th, 2013. Hesitation Marks came out. So
yeah.
Tyler, go ahead.
All right. So they did the Lights in the Sky tour for the Slip, and that came with in the middle of the tour, I want to say, Trent saying that he's going to end the band and he no longer wants to do this anymore and he wants to move on. And so they went on the Wave Goodbye tour, which I did not go see. I should have went. I was supposed to go with Dylan, and then I didn't go. They're playing cricket, and he had tickets, and I had another show that night, and I decided to go to the other show, which I still kind of regret that, but you know, it is what it is.
What was the other one?
I saw Kevin Devine at the Fix, with like
a much different show.
Very different show with like 35 people. So like, yeah, it was a very different show. I also realized, I think I told you the story before, that a guy was trying to hook up with me at that show, and I was not perceptive to it whatsoever. I had no idea what was going on. I went back to his car and listened to a CD that he had because he had a cover. He did a cover of brand new song Tao.
Holy shit!
Was this like an old guy?
No,
was
my
old
age.
Man?
Young. I was young.
Okay.
Or no, he was. I mean, I was 17, 18, whatever it was, right? And then he was maybe late-ish 20s, mid-20s. And when I found he liked Brand New, I was like, oh, I'm going to talk to this guy. He likes Brand New. Hell yeah, whatever, right? Because everybody liked Brand New. That's why if you're at a Kevin show, if you're not like Brand New, that's how you found him, whatever, right? But I was like super into this, like talking to this dude. And he was like, yeah, I did a cover of Tatao. Maybe you want to come here at my car. I'm just parked outside. And I was like, yeah, hell yeah. I didn't actually want to, but I just didn't know how to say no. And so, yeah. And so I was conscious enough to like leave a door open. So like I listened to it with my foot out the door. I left the door open. And he could have been totally innocent and just trying to show me his band or some shit. Mm-hmm. But like as an adult man now, I'm like, oh no, this guy was trying to hook up with me. And I was just nothing.
Wow. What's funny is it sounds like a van, like coming to my van.
Oh yeah.
Hang out and get some candy. Like that's why I asked, is this an older person?
No, 100%. Absolutely. Yeah. He got me with brand new covers and I was like, I'll go in your car. And we went down to his car in the parking lot, which is right out to the venue and whatever. Anyway. So regardless, anyway, so Trent broke the band up. And there's a lot of cool stuff that he did before around this time. They had the Ghosts record, which we're not ranking because that's all ambient sounds, whatever, right? And but he started doing Creative Commons, like he said. So the Ghost records are all the same way. All that stuff's just out there. You can do whatever you want with it, which made it so that Lil Nas X, his beat for that big ass song, the Old Time Road or whatever, that was a Nine Inch Nails sample, so he made more money off.
Yeah.
So Trent gets paid for it, but you're able to do it. Like it's not, he's not going to stop it, but he'll get paid for it. So like he probably made more money off Old Town Road than he made off of any Nine Inch Nails shit for decades.
True.
I don't know, whatever, right? So anyway, then in 2010, let's say, I want to, let's see here, 2013, so maybe 2012. He starts talking about getting the band back together and they're going to put a record out. And so him and Atticus were working on a lot of stuff from way before. And I also remember talking to Alon Rubin, who was the drummer at the end of the Slip era. And I remember talking to him at a Take Back Sunday show that he opened up for, and I asked him, and I was like, "Hey, I think me and Dylan were both there, and we were like, hey, what's up with Trent? Like, or is that ever going to happen again?" Or and Alon was like, he's a lot of music. He's a lot of music he's working on, and if he said something tomorrow, it just wouldn't surprise. So all I'll say is it won't surprise me. And that was like in 2010, 11, whatever. And I was like, oh shit, okay, so that means something's gonna happen, and it did. And so they released the Hesitation Marks record in 2013. So I went back and listened to this as well. I've actually heard these songs a lot because I went to these dates, and so like a lot of the stuff, like I'm not into it. Like I don't like. I think that Trent. I think this record is not as aggressive as I want it to be. I think that some of these songs, like "Copy of a Copy," I don't care for that. I know it's a single, and it was one of the big singles off the record for fans. I don't give a shit about that song. Like it's fun. It's fun live. It gets more intense live, but I don't. It's fine, whatever. Came Back Haunted, I think, was the lead single, right? I want to say, yeah, it was a lead single. It's fine. It's not as aggressive or as loud as mean as I want it to be, and that's kind of the same thing throughout. Like All Time Low, same. Like I need more aggression, less experimental kind of stuff going on, because at this point, like he started coming into his 90s Bowie era, which is what the EPs turned into later, which we're not ranking again. But like very experimental, starting to change shit up, starting to really figure out what he wanted to do, because I think he wanted to make it interesting for himself again. So that's why he wanted to come back to the band, right? Like come back to the brand or whatever. And so like anything to make it interesting to him, and that's what he did. So like this record, stimulated him creatively, and that's why he got the band back together, which I'm all into. It's just me personally. I don't ever come back to it. This is probably the first time I've listened to it in 6-7 years, maybe, besides hearing the songs live like a few times since then. Like I don't care. So for me, I ranked it last, I ranked it eighth. But not because I think that he struggles later in life. I think he still does a lot of stuff. I think that in the unlikely event, which is the next EP that came out after this, I think he returns to form a bit on there. But this record in particularly, just I don't care. Whatever.
Gotcha. Josh, what you got?
Once again, I'm on the same page as Tyler. Copy's an okay song. I do like All Time Low. I'll disagree with Tyler on that one. Satellite's another cool song. Everything. My standouts are Everything, All Time Low, but this is my least favorite album out of all the ones we just mentioned, so I had to put it at number 8 as well.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's another one I have no recollection of even existing. So, like, I know the album cover. That's a different album cover you have. Is that like a special edition or something?
Yeah, I believe it's a vinyl only cover.
Oh, okay, yeah. Gotcha. It's different than what's on streaming.
Oh, yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
I like the production on this. I think it's way better than the Slip. I think the vocal mix is really, really good. Like, we're getting into like kind of like really clean, like almost like Pretty Hate Machine level of cleanness on the vocals, which I dig. I like Satellite. I think it's like a fun little dance tune. Side note, this ties into Tyler and I's last episode. Satellite and Everything were supposed to be done for a Greatest Hits record, so I did read that.
Oh wow.
Okay.
That Interscope was supposed to put out, and then they ended up on this album. It's a lighter, airier production. I do dig it. Like Tyler said, it's lighter subject matter. I don't mind, especially after listening to all these in a row over like 3 or 4 days. Like it's kind of a breath of fresh air. I understand Tyler's point of view. Like it stands in contrast compared to much of the other catalog. A lot of it does start to blend together though. It kind of sucks. It's less soundtracky though, which I appreciate for me. I like Came Back Haunted quite a bit. Satellite I dug. Everything I really liked as well. Also, side note, Lindsey Buckingham plays on this. He plays on tracks 2, 12, and 13, which is cool. But I'm like, you got Lindsey Buckingham, dude. Like, I wouldn't even have known it was him until I read it.
Yeah.
Lindsey Buckingham has a very distinct guitar tone. And it's like, you kind of just didn't even use him at all. And it's kind of buried in the mix. So it's like, why? Why is he even there? It's kind of disappointed actually when I read that. I'm like, what the fuck? I would have enjoyed more. I want to go back to this one because I did like it, but I ranked it low because I just spent so much less time with it. So I put it at 7. But I honestly think this could creep up, like maybe into the top 5. Like I could put this above Year Zero in the slip. Like I really did dig it the first all the way through. And it could have just been because I was coming off all these heavy records, and then it was like a change of pace. But so I would like to go back to it though.
Nice.
Yep. So that was fun. I think we had kind of similar vibes, similar rankings, but for different reasoning, which is funny. So yeah, this is fun. Josh, thanks for joining us again. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. We'll have to. You're our ringer for rankings, so I have to think of another one that you can.
We'll do it again.
Yeah, next month we're gonna do the ranking of some kind. You're gonna do it, so you'll figure it out. And if you got to put the kids outside in the street, so be it. I don't know what to tell you. You know, it is what it is.
Yeah. This one was an hour and 40. So I don't know about the next one. Might be 3. Might be pushing 3 hours. So Josh, block off some time. We'll see.
Yeah, I know for sure. Yeah.
But anyways, guys, if you made it this far, hit the like button. You might as well hit the subscribe button. We do weekly videos, sometimes twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week if I'm feeling froggy. We do record store hauls where we talk about our physical media that we picked up. We do album rankings like this, and then every week we do a specific topic where we do a deep dive into something that's music related. So I chose tonight's topic. Tyler, you are choosing next week's topic. So what you got?
It's our first for us. I think what I'm gonna do here. So I'm going top 5 band feuds. So like what mythos, what like fun thing, like because like we know all the big ones, you know, whatever, but we don't have to just talk about the big ones that have been in history. There's also a lot of small ones that like maybe are more ridiculous and they're so niche to your dumb band that you love a lot that, you know, it's not a big deal. Like I think we might talk about Van Halen at some point, but we don't have to because I have a boatload and a half of other band feuds that make no sense and that are super stupid and they last for eons. So like I'm gonna do top 5 favorite band feuds.
So can it be like internally, externally?
Oh yeah, no, internally,
band on band. Whatever. Okay,
internal, incestual. You know, whatever you want to do. Yeah, any of that stuff for sure. Yeah. And like a little summary of sorts, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think my top is obviously an obvious one, but I think it's the best one because it's so one-sided that I love it. Yeah, that should be a fun one. Alrighty, guys, we'll see you next time here on the Living Deadwax podcast. Peace.